What is something that your parents did that you swore never to repeat to your own kids? I have two. Making fun of their interests and hobbies. It's why I don't like showing anyone my artwork. But I will do anything to support my kids and encourage them. If they tell me something in confidence, I'm not using that as a topic of conversation with others. Tell my parents anything and everyone knows. My mom just couldn't understand why I was getting mad when she was telling any yahoo at Walmart the whole story of events leading up to my divorce. Both are why my mom wonders why I don't tell her anything. I don't want that for my kids. Edit. I want to give a big hug to everyone who has responded with their own experiences. Let's all go live our dreams. Well, I had a stepmother who insisted God was punishing my dad for being mean to her while blood was flowing out of his mouth, eyes and nose, then refused to drive him to the hospital. That always seemed like something I'd want to avoid. Any friends I would make, she would tell me I couldn't hang out with them because of X reason. She grounded me for 6 months because I forgot to take out one of the trashes. Not that it mattered. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere anyway. There was one time that I had to stand in a corner in my underwear without eat because she heard a noise that woke her up, and obviously it was me. Once I confessed I could go, I ended up lasting about 18 hours of insisting it wasn't me. Ugly, crying in the corner till like 3 AM at 8 years old. I had to endure 10 years of that because she kept emptying my dad's bank account every time he got paid so he couldn't afford a divorce lawyer. I hated that woman. What an absolute sack of shit. I was spanked. I thought it'd grow up and spank too because I ended up okay and thought that's how you correct kids. But then as I got older I thought back to how I'd deal with other kids who made me mad or wouldn't listen to me. I hit them. It clicked, this wasn't what I needed to do. Spanking just teaches your children that you don't have the patience to teach them, that it's alright to hit people who don't do what you want them to, and that physical violence is how you express anger. It's terrible and I'm glad it's not something parents do much now. Lecture. My mom could go on for hours for even small misbehaviors. Somehow, it usually looped around to how I didn't keep my room clean, even though the rest of the house was just as much of a mess or worse. When I need to have a stern or serious discussion with my kids, I force myself to make my point in 5 minutes or less. I've even said stuff like, look, this is taking way too long. Just don't do this aloud thing again. Okay, I also apologize if I yell as soon as I'm emotionally able to after an angry outburst. I don't remember mom ever doing that. I received so many lectures that went on for ages while just repeating the same things over and over again. It was so frustrating to hear something said for the 14th time, asked if I understood, and even when a yes answer was given the lecture still continued. This is so relatable. If I were to tell my mum that she was going on and on about something little, she would only start complaining even louder. My defining memory of my dad is probably his 8-hour lectures. Well, the spit on his face. I had pretty decent mental health difficulties as a child, so when he'd rant and rave for hours at a time, beginning the drool within the first hour usually, to the point the lower half of his face was just covered in spit for a lot of it, I'd be damn near catatonic by the time he was done. You know, the funny thing is I can't remember a thing he said. The words didn't seem particularly important. Looking back, the man hated every second of every day. So I figure this was just him breaking and exploding. Probably won't ever forgive him for it and 1,000 other things, but there doesn't seem much point in dwelling on a dead man who lived in hell before he passed anyway. Use them as leverage against the other parent. Abuse them. Allow them to be abused by a significant other. Abandon them, then return years later once they've grown, and try to cause them as much pain as possible for who knows why. I have 4 sons and I genuinely can't imagine doing most of what happened to me to them. Blows my mind. Refuse to admit I was wrong. Be unapproachable. Come talk to me anytime about anything. Everything can be fixed. My mom was super liberal with the belt. She was also very religious and very judgmental. But she'd still have the nerve to always be like, why don't you talk to me about things? Willing to bet she also denies any belt beatings too. Judgmental behavior. I want my kids to know that I truly love them because of who they are. and not feel like they have to hide certain parts of who they are because they are afraid I won't care about them anymore. I can understand. I've started hiding a lot of things from family because of that only. Also, I only have few people I can count on a hand with whom I can share things. Even then I filter out things I want to with whom. Scared of being judged, I stopped telling my family anything actually meaningful to me years ago. Way too many times I would get animated and excited about something, only to be met with criticism, dismissal or flat out ignored. I still catch myself thinking that my well-being is not as important as others. It's ducked. Get loaded in front of them. Growing up in a family of drunks has soured me for the most part to drinking even socially. I do partake occasionally but not often. Deep down I feel alcoholism is in my genetics, so I steer clear unless the occasion is perfect. Man, I'm struggling so much with this. Borderline alcoholic. Once I start, I find it very hard to stop. Day 5 of being sober. Edit. Wow guys. I woke up for work this morning and my inbox was chock full of supportive message. Some awards. Means a lot. I will not drink today. Thank you. You're a ducking rockstar. One day at a time. 1 hour at a time. If you have to. My 1 year is this month. My husband's 8th. Stay sturdy. Constantly comparing myself to other people's kids and belittling my own achievements. That's just the equivalent of comparing your parents' wages, house or job with other kids' parents. My parents always did this to me and then got really offended if I tried to do it to them. Like if I dared mention a friend going on vacation, they'd be super offended at the comparison when it wasn't even that. It really sucked. The thing people tend to hate the most is seeing their own negative traits in other people. That sounds about right. I'm selfish, so I hate to see other people being selfish because only I should be selfish. Really poor food choices. My mom, trailer trash. I'm sorry, used to go every day to the 7-Eleven and get me a lunch of powdered donuts, a pop, and some chips. Every so often a sandwich in those little plastic triangles, or a chocolate bar. I used to think it was cool, but even at 12, I knew something was up. I remember my teacher one time came up to me and said, "Don't you ever have anything healthy?" I laughed it off, but I felt like it was a shitty thing to do to a kid. I know it's about health, but duck, that would be expensive. Redo things they've done because it's not the exact way I would have done it. My mom would refold the laundry or remake my bed. Drove me nuts and made me feel like, why even bother trying? I sometimes wonder if I was affected by this same kind of thing. Not exactly the same, but essentially, when I was a kid, my mom would tell me to clean my room and make my bed. I'd do exactly that to the best of my ability. Then I'd go get her so she could tell me if I was done. It almost never failed. She'd tell me that my room wasn't clean enough and my bed wasn't made enough. Then I was left to try to figure out what I was missing. I would try straightening things more, then get her again, and she'd tell me the room still wasn't clean enough and the bed not made enough. I would just feel baffled because I had no idea what more I could do before it was enough. I felt like there was some invisible mess that she could see, but somehow I couldn't. I couldn't understand what I was missing, and it would never be explained to me exactly what still needed to be straightened up, or what part of my bed still needed to be made. So now as an adult, in just about any context, I often have this underlying self-doubt that I'm missing something, somehow, and I can't trust myself to know when I've done enough. I think this is the foundation of my tendency to overthink and self-doubt. My mom would redo things without explaining why, and my dad would just do them for me without letting me try. As an adult, I nearly panic when someone is trying to teach me something and I start to struggle. The only thing I feel like I can handle at that point is to be left alone for a while to figure it out by myself. Teaching them by comparing them to their own better behaved / smarter siblings. In a very condescending manner. OFC. Shit. I was compared to other people's kids. Insert other kid's name. Would never do that to their parent. Minimize anything they pursue. Edit. Hey, thanks for the award, that's so kind. My mother would absolutely burn down any dream I had as a kid. Singer? Well, that's nice. But it will never happen. Gymnast? We can't afford that. But she never went without beer, weed, or smokes. I was 12. Of course it wasn't gonna happen. But Jesus woman. A little support. Wake them from a dead sleep on a school night to introduce them to my drunk friends I just came home with because I'm a bartender. Oh shit, you reminded me of another one. I will never get drunk and make my son come find me and bring me home in the middle of the night before his high school finals. I will never make him bail me out of jail using personal favors. Threads like this make me want to say I'll never do anything that my mother did. But that simplifies a very complicated feeling. When my mother loved me, I felt like the greatest person in the world. It's complicated. Eater. A lot of people here are suffering and hurt. We all need and deserve love and help. Any of y'all can message me whenever about whatever. I'm here. I might not be useful. And I'll probably curse a lot. But I care. If you want a healthier response, I'd like to suggest r/mom for a minute. The ladies are rather wonderful, kind and loving women that y'all deserve. It really is. Shitty and or abusive parents aren't abusive all of the time, and it makes it so hard to understand that you're not supposed to be living in the situation you are. It makes it difficult to either hate or forgive them. You just get stuck in this weird limbo. The best phrase I've ever heard in relation to this feeling is love your parents with as much room as they give you to do so. Phrase credit, you/an empty. Not be affectionate. My mom was very distant and not a physically emotional person with me growing up. I realized that if I have kids I'd want to read to them, hug them, celebrate their accomplishments, overall have them feel comfortable with me to share their thoughts or feelings. Edit. Whoa. Was not expecting any of the comments or upvotes at all. I just post and keep it moving. But you know what? Hugs for all, only if you consent. I enjoyed reading some of the comments so far and will continue. This has been the most affection I've gotten in quarantine, so I hope you're all doing better than I am. My husband expressed one time how his family wasn't a hugger type family when he grew up, and so he hugs me all the time. When my youngest was little it's a total man's boy and would get jealous and run in between us, which would lead to the eldest and the dog joining the fun. This has led to hug time. Exactly like the Trolls movie. Someone calls hug time. That's it, you drop everything and hug. The dog even knows this statement. Edit. Mama. Not man's lol. Wholesome as duck. Thanks for watching. Don't leave before leaving a like to this video.